It started like any other morning at an airport, the kind where everyone's half awake, half somewhere else, already dragging bags, clutching coffee, just trying to get through security without losing their mind. Nothing special, nothing dramatic. And that's the thing. The moments that end up changing everything almost never announce themselves. They just show up pretending to be ordinary. I was walking through the terminal in my dress uniform, garment bag on one shoulder, carry-on in the other hand, thinking about a briefing I had to get to, thinking about a funeral I'd been at the day before, thinking about how tired I felt in a way sleep doesn't fix. Then I heard someone behind me say, "Hey, you, stop." And in that instant, before I even turned around, something in my gut told me this wasn't going to be normal. You know what I mean? I stopped. I always stop. Years in uniform teach you that stopping is safer than explaining. I turned around slowly, hands visible, posture straight. 2 airport police officers were standing there, both white, both already squared up like this was something they'd rehearsed in their heads. One of them looked at me up and down and said, "What is that supposed to be?" He nodded at my uniform like it offended him. I said, calm as I could, "Sir, it's my military dress uniform. I'm active duty." He smirked and said, "Anybody can buy a costume." A costume. That word hit harder than I expected. I'd worn that uniform to memorials, to promotions, to places where men didn't come back from. Costume. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice level. "I have my military ID and my orders if you want to see them." He didn't reach for them. He stepped closer instead, too close the way people do when they're trying to remind you who they think has power. "Put your bag down." So I did. I lowered it carefully, slow movements, palms open. Around us, people kept moving, but I could feel the air change. That quiet tension when strangers sense something's off. "Where are you coming from?" he asked. "A memorial service," I said. "I'm heading to a command briefing." He tilted his head like he didn't believe a word. "Turn around." I asked carefully, "For what reason, sir?" That's when his expression shifted just slightly. The kind of shift that says you weren't supposed to ask that. "Because I said so." His partner stepped closer, blocking my path, muttering, "Just do what he says." I turned around. I put my hands behind my back without being told again. "I'm not resisting," I said out loud. For the cameras I knew were there, for the body cam blinking on his chest, for the people slowing down to watch. He grabbed my wrist and yanked it higher than necessary. "You're tense." I said, "I'm standing still. You're on my shoulder." He leaned in close and said quietly, "Guys like you fake this stuff all the time." Guys like you. There it was. Clean, quiet, and ugly. I swallowed it. "Sir, you can verify my ID," I said again. He didn't answer. Instead, his hand drove into my upper back. "Get down." I said, "I'm not resisting, but gravity doesn't care about words." My knees hit the tile, then my shoulder, then my face. The sound echoed across the terminal. I heard gasps. Someone yelled. Someone pulled out a phone. A knee landed between my shoulder blades hard. "Stop moving," I said through clenched teeth, cheek pressed to the floor. "I'm not moving. You're hurting me." The cuffs snapped shut too tight, always too tight. People were watching now. A man in a veteran's cap said, "That's a military uniform. You don't need to do all that." The officer snapped back, "Mind your business." I lay there breathing slow, controlled the way I was trained. Not reacting, because reacting would be written up later as aggression. I knew the script: disorderly conduct, failure to comply, aggressive demeanor. I'd seen it happen to other people. I just never thought it would be me in uniform in public with cameras everywhere. They hauled me up by the cuffs. "You're being detained," he said, "for disorderly conduct." I said I complied with every command. He said, "We'll sort that out," and started dragging me toward a side hallway. That's when a supervisor stepped in front of us. She looked at the cuffs, the uniform, the scuffed knee, the marks already forming on my wrists. "What's going on?" The officer answered fast. "Possible impersonation." He got aggressive. I looked her in the eye. "Ma'am, I'm active duty. I have ID and orders." I did not resist. She asked to see my ID. He hesitated just for a second. That second mattered. He handed it over. She read it, unfolded the orders, looked back up at him. "He's active duty," she said. "Why is he in cuffs?" "He had an attitude," the officer said. I asked why I was being stopped. That's when he put hands on me. Someone from the crowd backed me up. "He didn't do anything." The supervisor raised a hand. "Enough. Uncuff him." He hesitated again. I said, "Uncuff him." The cuffs came off rough. I flexed my hands, feeling the sting. She asked if I was injured. I said my face hit the floor and I wanted it documented. She nodded. That's when I knew this wasn't going to disappear quietly. Once it was documented, everything changed. The chief showed up, then legal, then a phone call that didn't stay inside the building. Someone said the words, "Special Operations" out loud and the tone shifted. I was sitting in a quiet office uniform, scuffed wrists marked, when I realized this had stopped being about me. It was bigger now. Body cam footage was preserved. Witness statements were taken. Federal agencies were notified. Investigators watched the video. They heard the language. They saw the shove, the knee, the silence of the partner who never stepped in. The officers were pulled from duty that same day, then suspended, then fired. Certifications revoked. Careers ended not with sirens or headlines at first, but with paperwork, locked doors, and calls that stopped getting returned. The department went under review. Training policies changed. Settlements were reached quietly, numbers sealed but heavy. Yeah, that happened. I went back to work. That part never trends. I put the uniform back on. I boarded another plane weeks later. Same posture, same calm. No one stopped me. No one questioned whether I belonged. But the image stayed with people. A man in dress blues on an airport floor, and the question that followed it everywhere the footage went. What does authority look like to you, and who do you believe when power and prejudice collide? Was this about safety or assumptions, protocol or bias? One bad decision or a system that only corrected itself because there was evidence and witnesses and nowhere to hide? That's what I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you saw. And if you've ever witnessed something like this or lived it yourself, say it out loud. Silence is easy, accountability is louder.